Hey everyone, and welcome back to Podcast for Artists. Today we're going to be talking about something super important for any artist out there, and it's something that a lot of people put off. It's that dreaded artist bio.
I think a lot of artists feel that way.
Yeah.
They spend so much time, developing their art,
Yeah.
their craft, and then they get to the bio and they're just like, ugh,
Yeah.
you know,
Uh,
do I really have to do this?
yeah, it feels like this separate thing that you got to do like a chore almost.
Mm.
But I was reading this article, writing a captivating artist's biography on marketyourart.net. And it totally shifted my perspective
Yeah.
because it made me realize that the bio, it's not just some formality, like a box you have to check. It can actually be like a secret weapon.
It really can. Because think about it. If someone sees your work, at a gallery or online, what's the first thing they do? They want to know who made this.
Totally. It's like this instant curiosity. But I feel like so often, you see these artist bios
Mm-hmm.
and they're just listing facts. It's like reading a resume. But this article is saying that there's actually like three big things that an artist bio should do. And the first one is presenting the artist's background.
And that doesn't just mean, I was born here, I graduated from there. It's more about what shaped you as an artist. Like imagine you're a landscape painter and your bio mentions how you grew up wandering the forests of, like the Pacific Northwest or something. Suddenly those sweeping vistas in your art have this whole other depth for the viewer, you
Yeah,
know?
okay, I'm not just seeing trees, now I'm seeing your trees.
Yeah.
The ones that you grew up with. That shaped your whole vision.
Yeah.
Okay, that's way more interesting than just, listing where you went to art school. So what's the second big thing a bio should do?
Establish credibility. And that doesn't mean bragging. It's about being professional. Think about it. Like if you were buying art, wouldn't you be more confident? Knowing that the artist has, studied their craft, maybe they've been in some, legit exhibitions.
100%. It's like if I see that a painter, has had their work shown in a museum that I've actually been to, that I know, I'm automatically taking more seriously. So, okay, we've got background story to hook me in, and then credentials to back it up. So what's that final piece of the puzzle?
Connection. This is where it gets really interesting. Sharing your inspirations, your artistic influences. It's kind of letting people peek behind the curtain of your process a little bit.
Okay, so I'm getting this image in my head. I'm at a gallery. I love this piece. I read the bio and it says, the artist is obsessed with the way light hits water. Always has been. Suddenly, I'm not just looking at their water scene. I'm feeling that fascination too.
Exactly. It's like that shared passion is so powerful. It transforms your bio from just dry facts into something that resonates emotionally,
So it makes people want to invest in you, the artist, not just the object.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm convinced. The why of the bio is clear. Now let's get tactical. What actual elements does this article say we need to include to make it captivating?
Oh, it breaks it down into 5 key components.
Yeah.
And the first one is that personal background we were just talking about. Just give people a little glimpse into, your upbringing, your artistic journey, anything that's really shaped your style.
So if an artist spent their childhood in a bustling city, that might explain why their work is all about capturing movement and energy.
Right. Or maybe someone grew up, surrounded by nature, and that's why their art has this serene, organic feel. Just give a little taste. Keep it concise.
So setting the scene. All right, what comes next?
Education and training. So here you would list, any formal art education you have, any influential workshops you've taken, important mentors you've studied with, anything that shows you've, seriously honed your skills.
Okay, so even if someone's mostly self-taught, but they took this incredible ceramics class that changed everything, that's worth mentioning.
Absolutely. It shows dedication and a willingness to, learn and grow as an artist.
Okay, I like that. What about exhibitions and achievements? I feel like this is where it can get tempting to just list everything.
It can, but it's a balancing act. You want to highlight the big wins, solo shows, prestigious group exhibitions, awards that are relevant to your current work.
Okay, so if I won best finger painting in kindergarten, maybe that's not bio-worthy anymore.
Probably not. Unless finger painting is your current artistic focus, you want to focus on the things that resonate with where you are now as an artist.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, now on to my favorite part. Artistic influences and inspirations. This is where we get to geek out a little bit.
It is. This is where the heart of your art really shines through. Mention artists that you admire, art movements that resonate with you, even life experiences that have shaped your creative vision.
So if someone's super inspired by the Impressionists, that could explain their, loose brushstrokes and focus on like light and color.
Exactly. Or maybe they traveled to like a specific country, and that sparked their current series of paintings. By sharing these influences, you give people a deeper understanding of your work and your creative process.
It's like those behind-the-scenes features on a movie. You appreciate the work even more, knowing what went into it.
Mm.
All right, so what's that final element?
Unique techniques or styles. What sets you apart in the crowded art world? Do you use, unconventional materials? Do you have like a signature brushstroke? Do you work in the specific style that you've developed?
It's like your artist's superpower. That thing that makes people go, oh, I recognize their work anywhere.
Exactly. It could be anything from, using recycled materials to create sculptures, to having a unique approach to color mixing, whatever makes your work stand out.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired. We've got the why and the what of the bio down. But before we get too excited, let's talk about some common mistakes that artists make. I'm sure there's some pitfalls to avoid, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's some classic traps that people fall into.
All right, let's unpack those. This is getting juicy.
So we were talking about all these essential elements of a captivating artist bio, and now we're going to dive into the danger zone. Like, what are the common mistakes that can really sabotage all your hard work?
Ooh, okay, I'm all ears, spill the tea.
Okay.
What's the first pitfall we need to watch out for?
Information overload. It's so tempting to just like cram everything in, like every single show, every award you've ever gotten, every tiny detail about your artistic journey. But that can actually backfire.
You're saying less is more?
Exactly. A bio that's too dense or too long, it can just lose people's attention. Think about it. Like when you're browsing online, and you land on a website and it's just this giant wall of text, do you actually read every single word?
Honestly, no. My eyes just glaze over and I just scroll right on by.
Exactly. It's the same with artist bios. People want like bite-sized, engaging information, not like a dissertation.
Yeah.
So be selective, prioritize those like most important and impactful details.
So how do we find that balance? What's too much information versus just enough?
It's a good question. Think about your ideal audience. What do they need to know to be intrigued, to want to learn more? You don't need to list every single group show you've ever participated in. Focus on the highlights, the things that really demonstrate your growth and direction as an artist.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
What's another common mistake that you see artists making?
Exaggeration or embellishment. It's tempting to want to puff things up a bit, make yourself sound more accomplished or more experienced than you actually are. But honesty is paramount, especially in the art world.
So you're saying even like a little white lie can really backfire?
Big time word gets around, especially in the art community. Imagine someone discovers that you've, inflated your credentials or your experience. It just instantly damages your credibility and your reputation.
Ouch. Yeah, that's not the look.
Yeah.
It's like them saying, it takes years to build trust, but only seconds to destroy it.
Exactly. So just be authentic, be genuine. People connect with real stories, real journeys. Embrace your unique path, even if it's not like, this perfectly linear, meteoric rise to fame.
It's actually really reassuring.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the language that we use in our bios? Any traps there?
Definitely one common pitfall is using overly complex language or jargon. It's easy to slip into like art speak, especially when we're so immersed in that world. But remember, your bio needs to be accessible to a wider audience.
So even if I'm like super proud of, mastering some specific glazing technique, I should probably avoid, throwing around all these technical terms that might just go right over people's heads.
Exactly. It's like speaking a different language. While some people might be impressed, you're going to leave a lot of people just scratching their heads. Use clear, concise language that everyone can understand. You want your bio to engage people, not alienate them.
Yeah, good point. It's about meeting people where they're at, not showing off our fancy art vocabulary. It's another mistake to avoid.
This one applies to any type of writing, but it's especially crucial for artist bios, neglecting to proofread typos, grammatical errors. Even awkward phrasing can just completely undermine your credibility and your professionalism.
So you're saying a typo can be as damaging as like a bad brushstroke?
In a way, yes, it just shows a lack of attention to detail, and that can make people question your overall professionalism. Think about it. Would you trust a surgeon who showed up for surgery with like a messy, wrinkled uniform?
Okay, point taken proofreading is key.
Yeah.
Are there any other pitfalls we should be aware of?
One more that's often overlooked is forgetting the call to action. Your bio shouldn't just be a summary of your accomplishments. It should also encourage people to like engage further with your work,
So we're talking about like giving them a next step, like what to do after reading the bio.
Exactly. Include your website, your social media handles, any upcoming events or exhibitions. Make it easy for people to connect with you, follow your journey, and maybe even purchase your art.
So it's like that final brush stroke that completes the masterpiece.
Exactly. The call to action turns your bio from just like a passive document into an active invitation to join your artistic world.
Hmm. This has been so incredibly helpful. Now that we know what not to do, I'm actually really curious to see what a really effective bio looks like in action. Can we walk through an example?
Absolutely. The article Writing a Captivating Artist Biography on marketyourart.net actually includes a really great example of a bio that just hits all the right notes. And it's for like this fictional contemporary painter named Jane Smith.
Okay, I'm ready to be inspired.
Mhm.
Tell me more about Jane and her amazing bio. So we were talking about this, Jane Smith and her artist bio before the break. What makes her so great?
Well, first off, it just starts strong. Puts her unique style right up front. It says Jane Smith is a contemporary painter known for her expressive abstract compositions and bold use of color. Boom, you instantly know what she's about.
I love that that's so much better than those bios that are just like, oh, I'm an artist exploring various mediums.
Yeah.
Like, come on, give me something I can work with.
Exactly. You want to hook people right away. And Jane's bio then goes on to connect, her upbringing in New York City to her art,
Yeah.
talking about how that energy and dynamism of the city kind of influenced her approach. So even if someone doesn't know much about abstract art, they get that context.
Okay, so it's like hooking me with her style and then giving me that why behind it. And it's all in the first couple sentences.
Yeah, exactly. And then it mentions her education. She went to
Yeah.
RISD, which is a top art school, but it doesn't dwell on it. It just kind of throws it in there. And then it highlights a few of her, most important exhibitions, like being featured in a museum show. It's not just listing every little gallery she's ever been in, it's being selective with those credibility points.
Right. It's like, okay, I trust her judgment.
Yeah.
Now she's not just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah.
So what about that personal touch we were talking about, the influences and inspirations?
It's in there. Jane's bio mentions that she's been, deeply inspired by the abstract expressionist movement and even names a specific artist whose work she really admires. And this gives viewers a way to connect her work to something they might already be familiar with.
It's like, oh, if I love that other artist, maybe I'll vibe with Jane's work too. It's giving me some direction, not just leaving me lost in the abstract, so to speak.
Exactly. And then to top it all off, the bio describes Jane's, unique layering and dripping technique. It gives us a little peek into her creative process, and it just makes her art feel even more special and considered.
Okay, so we've got the why of her art, the impressive background, but also those little details that make her stand out as an individual. I'm really starting to see how this is a whole different beast than just a plain old resume.
Right. It's telling a story. It's painting a picture of the artist, as a whole person, not just listing achievements. And the best part is Jane's bio does all this while still being concise and engaging. It leaves you wanting to learn more.
Okay, I'm sold, but let's be real for a second. If someone is out there feeling inspired but also a little overwhelmed, where do they even begin to write a bio like this?
Well, you don't have to start from scratch. Remember that article we've been talking about, Writing a Captivating Artist Biography on marketyourart.net? It actually includes a template you can use as a starting point.
Oh, that's so helpful. It's like having a blueprint.
Yeah.
So you don't have to just stare at that blank page wondering where to start.
Exactly. And of course, you'll want to personalize it, make it your own. But having that structure can be incredibly helpful, especially if, writing isn't really your forte.
I love that. So to wrap things up today, we've covered why a great artist bio matters. Those essential elements to include the mistakes to avoid. And we even got to see a stellar example in action. Any final words of wisdom for the artists listening out there?
Yeah, remember your bio is a living document as you grow and change as an artist. So should your bio, don't be afraid to revisit it and tweak it, make it even more amazing.
Yeah, it's like your art. You're always learning and refining your craft.
Yeah.
So treat your bio with that same care and attention.
And, most importantly, have fun with it. Let your personality shine through. Let people see your passion.
Yeah, beautifully said. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of Podcasts for Artists. We hope you found this deep dive into artist bios insightful and inspiring.
And don't forget, you can find that article we mentioned, Writing a Captivating Artist Biography, with that handy template on marketyourart.net. The link is in the episode description below.
Until next time, keep creating and keep sharing your unique gifts with the world.